name is Nisa here. Welcome back to another video. So today I am here with part 2 of my Helluva Boss episode ranking tier list shit. If you haven't seen part 1, you're a cuck. Sorry to just let you know. Sorry to just drop that on you, but it's true. But we have 5 tiers here. We got Helluva Banger, very good, does the job, a bit stinky, and Helluva Fumble, lads. And I am so down for this. Let's get straight into this shit because we got a lot to talk about. Because season 2 is a bit wild as hell compared to 1. So season 2, episode 1, I believe it was called The Circus. This one is almost entirely in flashback. This is kind of like a prequel to the entire show, showing how Blitz and Stolas met and how they were like as kids. Let me just tell you something, lads. This episode is kind of fucking balling. It's the first ever episode, maybe with the exception of Lululand, that is just solely dedicated to Stolas and showing off Stolas. Shit, honestly, Blitz feels like a side character in this. Like, this is an episode about fucking Stolas, and Blitz is just kind of there. The only negative that I have with this episode is something that's not even, like, the episode's fault. And it's just the fact that we saw this massive cliffhanger at the end of Osmodius and then went straight to this. It kind of pissed me off a little bit. You end with a giant cliffhanger, and then the next thing you see is a fucking prequel. Kiss my dick. But that prequel, though, is one of the best shits you've ever fucking seen, dude. I'm kind of torn as to where to put it, because I'm honest to God thinking Helluva Banger, or at least like the tippy top of very good. I don't know. Honest to God, I'm kind of thinking about doing something drastic here, you know. I think what I might honestly do is I might add a new tier. I'm gonna make another tier called Can't Go Wrong, because I feel like these episodes that I put in season 1 right here, I feel like are very good and have like no real problems or anything like that, but comparatively, I don't know. Because season 2 episode 1 perfectly kind of fits in the middle between not good enough to be a Helluva Banger, but it's way better than like all of these good season 1 episodes. So I think I'm gonna make a new tier just so that I can put it in the middle, because I kind of like that a bit more. Oh boy, seeing stars. All right, lads. When I first discovered Helluva Boss, this was the most recent episode that had released, and I gotta be honest with you, lad, I'm not sure how much of a hot take this is, but I'm gonna stick this bitch in a fumble. Let me explain why. The ending is beautiful, right? Everything that I'm about to say, completely ignore like the final like 30 seconds of it. That whole conversation where they're on top of a building smoking cigarettes, where you go to the observatory in GTA 5, that he like almost the exact same spot, it looks like. Completely ignoring that entire section. I think this episode genuinely sucks ass. Stolas is just so like shockingly unlikable for the first like third of it, which causes Octavia to run off, which is cool. Like that's a cool setup. But then once we actually like get to Hollywood, it just kind of fucks it really bad, I feel. The pacing is garbage. There's that one scene that I can never unnotice when they get thrown, or excuse me, when Blitz and Stolas get thrown into the back of the van, it literally just hard cuts to the next dialogue, and it looks so sloppy and looks so unfinished. I can never not notice that.
Oh, you are strong. Oh. Blitz, we don't have time for this.
But then you also have the whole scene with like the sitcom as well, with like the whole like Brandon Rogers parody. It's just like, I don't know, man. It's kind of like the same thing where they had Jennifer Tilly be a character in Chucky, because it just feels kind of just cringy and kind of just takes you out of the world a bit. I get that it takes place on Earth, so it makes sense, but it just, I don't know. The episode just fumbles really hard. I think the pacing is garbage. The story at least was kind of cool, but then the whole fucking thing that takes place on Earth is pretty much all dog shit. A lot of the characters are garbage. It's not really funny. It doesn't have any cool action set pieces, with the exception of the ending. It's not emotional almost at all. Yeah, this episode straight up just fumbles really badly. X's and O's is next, and I absolutely love this one. I don't like the character of Chaz. He is the only negative that this episode brings. However, bro, from a start to finish kind of story, I think that this one is fucking peak. You get to see Moxie's dad, which is one of like my favorite villains in the whole show, as well as Moxie once again being brought up on like this fat ass pedestal for this episode. I love it. It's one of the episodes that has a perfect just beginning, middle, and end. It just tells its own story, and I really like respect it for that. I think this is the first time where you actually see greed, at least in like a good chunk of detail as well. I really like that about it. Moxie's dad is one of the best villains ever. The whole just ending wedding scene, that whole fight is one of the best things ever. It's heartbreaking because you get the like the backstory to Moxie's mom and how like heartbreaking her story is. Literally everything about this is just dope. 3 things that I want in Helluva Boss. This episode has them all in fucking spades. The only reason why it's not a banger is because Chaz is shit. He is extremely annoying. It doesn't have any good qualities to him. He literally is just an annoying dickhead, and the fact that he fucking dies at the the end, I'm completely fine with that. Also, I figured that this would be a spoiler thing. I don't know. It's been out for a year and a half. Figure it out. So yeah, the top of very good. I like that a lot. Up next, we got Western Energy, which is a hard one, man. This one is tough because I feel like this is one of the most divisive episodes where the A plot and the B plot are shockingly different in terms of quality. All of the Stryker and Stolas stuff that you see genuinely is like some of the best Helluva Boss you're ever gonna get, but everything that takes place in the doctor's office with Blitz, no shit, is like this, like, it's bad. This episode right here, I feel like kind of sparked the whole meme of like, if Vivzy Pop wrote this, it would just be a non-stop onslaught of the word fuck. That whole meme has such legs to stand on with this episode in particular, because I think genuinely when when Blitz goes into the doctor's office, that whole like hospital lobby scene, I think he says fuck and or shit maybe every 6 words. It is rough, man.
Christ on a stick, ass. Fucking fuck me and fuck you looking at. Shit. Fuckers. How the fuck you fuck up titty haver? Fucking.
But then even then, Luna doesn't even talk. She is like one of the main characters in the entire B plot, and yet she doesn't have a single line, which is just really weird and jarring. I don't know, it makes no sense to me. I know that there's probably some like legal problems behind the scenes. There's just something like that to like make it so that Luna doesn't have any lines, but it just feels like, why even make it then? If one of your characters can't talk. The episode just constantly switches back and forth between some of the best Helluva Boss you've ever seen with Stryker and Stolas to the worst you've ever seen with Blitz and Luna. It is bizarre. One side of the story is incredibly funny, incredibly engaging, has a lot of action, is super, super interesting and fun. The other half is boring and childish. What do you want from me? I think for that reason alone, I kind of have to put it in does the job, and maybe, I don't know, man. Like I said, it's one of the extremes. Half of the episode is up here and the other half is down here, so it's just like, damn. But I also can't put it in can go wrong, because you can go wrong, because half the episode sucks ass. I'm gonna put it at the top of does the job. I like that. I never realized how kind of lame the first start of season 2 was, because now we have season 2 episode 5 Happy Campers. Little spoiler for you, this is the last one on the entire list that I'm going to be even slightly talking negatively about, at least to like a genuine consensus. But Happy Campers, let me tell you, lad, this is probably the worst episode of the entire show. And I mean that with genuine heart. I do not think an episode has been worse than Happy Campers. There is nothing at all redeeming about this episode. There's nothing. This episode was meant to kind of introduce us to Barbie Wire, which is Blitz's sister, one of the big main characters that is like really just fucking with this man's brain, and you only get to see her for like 30 seconds. Yeah, that like literally all this episode needed to do was just show her more, and it couldn't even do that. She is introduced for the first time in like 20 episodes total, and then just has 6 lines, tells our characters to fuck off and leaves, and hasn't been shown since for this many episodes that are left. And then on the flip side, you have the whole Moxie Millie thing, which is kind of the A plot of this story, and it is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. Every single song in this episode is borderline garbage. I think it was called Average Joe is one of them. That was terrible. The Moxie song especially was terrible that they sing at the campfire. Moxie as a character was just obliterated. Holy shit, he sucks. It's honestly so funny because the Moxie and Happy Campers and the Moxie and Sinsmas are just not the same character. They're just not. Maybe you could call it character development because he is a giant piece of shit in this episode, but like in Sinsmas, for example, he's extremely like nice and apologetic. He's just a great guy. But in holy shit, dude, in Happy Campers, he is a piece of shit. He wears this like woman disguise the whole time, which makes his voice extremely annoying. He acts just like this cocky, pompous, selfish dick to Millie. Literally everything about this episode is actual trash. There is nothing redeeming at all about it. The ending music is kind of cool. Like the fight scene music is pretty sweet. Like that's kind of cool. But aside from that, and maybe like the 3 lines of Barbie that we get, this episode genuinely has nothing to it. There's nothing redeeming at all. These next 2 episodes, I'm going to put both of them up here at once because they literally are a 2-parter. If you want to be super interesting about that, this is kind of a way that you can think about this. Both of these these episodes are solely dedicated to Fizz. If you want to be a dickhead, you can honest to God say that this is like a kind of Helluva special event. These two Fizz episodes back to back being released and just watching them back to back form a beautiful two-parter where the beginning of 6 perfectly ends with the end of 7. It's great. And where are they gonna go? Yoink and kerdoink. Let's go in order. So we have Oops, and then we have, I think it was like Mammon's mid-season special or something like that. A weird title. But with Oops, the episode's amazing. You get the first ever genuine real appearance of Fizz. You get to see why he hates Blitz. Everything about their little dynamic is super, super fun. The action as well is super fun, and Viz with Osmodia. Oh! I knocked the mic over, but it's not. How the fuck? It's like, whoa, hang on. I perfectly hit my mic to where it's like tilting, but it's not falling. It's on 2 legs. It's a tripod mic, and it's on 2 legs. That's pretty cool. I don't know, man. There's just nothing really like to talk about with Oops specifically that is even remotely negative, because it really is just a good-ass episode about Fizz. Gets you introduced to him, gets you to know, like, what kind of character he is, what kind of life he has, and then it all crescendos in the next chapter, part 7, where all of that shit is put to the test. Blitz is like a side character in this episode. The friendship has been healed, and then you go up against, like, the final boss being Mammon. Dude, these 2 episodes back to back are fucking awesome. There's no flaws. They're all just both perfect. Actually, I take that back. No, there is one negative. There is one negative with this little 2-parter, and that is the song Look at This in episode 6. I don't like it at all. I think it's very annoying. And then you have Stryker and Moxie's dad, who are like the villains of Oops right here, episode 6. But then once the song kicks in, they just kind of give up. I don't know, like literally all of their intimidation just kind of stops. It feels very out of place, just how okay they are with just watching Fizz sing his song. That seems kind of bizarre. But aside from that, ooh, 10 out of 10. Love it. Full Moon, lads. One of the biggest deal episodes in the entire series, lad. This one specifically was hyped up to be a major deal. This is the episode, at least what it was described to as, is that this is the episode where all of the Blitz and the Stolas shit hits its fucking climax. This is where everything goes to hell. And it does do that. Barely, but it does do that. To be honest with you, man, this episode is kind of a middle finger. The whole kind of point of it, you would think, would be it's about Stolas and Blitz chilling together and their problems and their shit that goes on, when in reality, it's just a Churub sequel episode. And, yeah, that's not a good way to reintroduce these characters, because now I kind of hate the Churubs more. This episode should have nothing to do with the Truth Seekers or whatever the fuck the Secret Agents' names are, which are terrible villains in my opinion. I think they're the worst villains in the whole show. And then also the Churubs as well, just completely taint this whole thing, man. Literally every single thing that is not focused on Blitz is garbage in this episode. Very, very similar to Western Energy, as in half of the episode is the best Helluva Boss you've ever seen, while the other half is the stinkiest, bro. However, I just do think it's just a better episode than Western Energy is, but it's nowhere near as good and consistent as these like first couple season 1 episodes are. So I'm gonna put Full Moon at like the top of Does the Job. I think that that's like a good spot to put it. All right, lads, from this point on, we are just gonna go sicko mode. These next 4 episodes are literally all bangers that get better as they go. Starting with what might be not even the worst one. This episode's amazing. Apology Tour. Fuck me. This episode is what Full Moon was hyped up to be. Apology Tour, start to finish, is one of the most focused episodes that we have had in a very long time. The whole thing focuses on Blitz trying to make amends with everybody that he has wronged throughout his life, and it all ends up with this amazing fucking song. I think it's called All to You or All for You or something like that. It's so damn good. There is no like annoying B plot that takes up any screen time. This one literally is just dedicated to everything that you want to see. Verosika makes her long-awaited return with this. Stolas is one of the best characters in this. He is broken and you can tell. We got a lot of cameos from previous characters and previous villains, because that's what it is. It's literally an apology tour. You know what it's kind of like? It's like that episode of South Park where Cartman thought he died, and so he went around town to make amends with everybody. This is literally the Helluva Boss version of that episode. I don't think that Apology Tour has the kind of standout feeling that a lot of other episodes have, and even ones before it. Apology Tour, while being amazing, does kind of feel like just one of the episodes instead of it being like this oh shit big deal. which I feel bad because that's what fucking Full Moon should have been. They should have just canceled Full Moon entirely and just made this Full Moon. But I would be lying on my ass if I did not think that it was like the top of very good, because it is. Now we get Ghost Fuckers, the most recent episode that is just a standalone story. It has nothing to do with the Stolus shit, has nothing to do with any of the other characters. This is just another good episode where the IMP group goes and just helps a client. And hijinks ensues, does it not? This episode gives a large focus into Millie, which is something that people have been begging for forever, because there's never been an episode dedicated to Millie, and the only one you can make an argument with that with is fucking terrible. But what do I personally think of Ghost Fuckers? I think it is an amazing episode, but I personally do not think that it is one of the best. I think that there's no flaws. Emotionally, funny, and action, it's got everything that I would want in it. So already, it's above Can't Go Wrong, definitely. But I just don't think it has like the staying power of the Fizz 2-parter or even like Apology Tour. To be honest with you, I think right here would be a flawless spot to put it. And then next, we have Mastermind, one of the best episodes. Holy shit. When this episode came out, it was my favorite. And oh my god, I loved it. This whole episode takes place in a courtroom, which sounds really fucking boring. But then once you realize what the hell is going on with it, it's one of the best, dude. It's an absolute banger straight through and through. There's no negatives, dude. This is the first ever time where you actually get to see all of the 7 deadly sins in one room talking to each other, with the exception of Lucifer for obvious reasons. With the introduction of Satan, the character being at the forefront, all of the side characters are in this, even characters who have nothing to do with the story, like Verosica or Fizz, at least cameo. This feels like just the best Helluva Boss you can get. I think Mastermind aces that shit. If you aren't into the whole like Stolus and Blitz thing, I can guarantee you that you will be at the end of Mastermind, because not only that, but it's the first time that they just cut the bullshit and they just fucking confess their love to each other via one of the best songs in the entire show being Mastermind, dude. Oh my god, this is great. The drama and the dialogue in this episode in particular is so fucking good. I've seen it like 4 times just because of how much I loved it. It's not the most action-packed, but it doesn't need to be, because this one is an action-packed episode in terms of emotions, bro. This whole thing is just people talking in a room, but it is way more intense than you think it is. Something big and crazy happens in this episode like every like 30 seconds, and it just gets to a point where you're just like, come on, man, damn. And not only that, but it also just has one of the most wholesome, kind of bittersweet, really depressing, but also really fun and fucking wholesome and cute and sweet endings of all time. This episode's amazing, bro. It is genuinely one of the best in the entire show. I'm not even fuck with you when I put it up there. I'm not even kidding. This is my favorite episode of Helluva Boss, if only not for this cheeky little man, Sins Miss. What the kind of Fizz episodes were as to like being a 2-parter, Mastermind and Sins Miss also is kind of a 2-parter. It's like the Blitz and Stolus 2-parter essentially is what it is. But while Mastermind was like this big, massive, like fuck off kind of event, Sins Miss is like the consequences of that event. Everybody in this episode, especially Stolus, just feels so like just broken from the events that happened in Mastermind. This is like their recovery from the events that happened in Mastermind. That's how big of a deal Mastermind is when its events lead directly into something else. That's crazy. That's how you know it's good. But I do think that Sins Miss is better than Mastermind, and the reason why is because it has everything that Mastermind does, plus more. Mastermind doesn't really have any fun, epic set pieces of action and fighting. Sins Miss got it. Mastermind doesn't really have that much kind of emotion and sadness and kind of just like feeling for the characters very much. Sins Miss is chock full of it. Sins Miss is just not an episode of Helluva Boss, as it is just an actual masterpiece of indie animation, dude. It is so fucking good. It's funny, it's a tearjerker, and it's badass. What more do you need? And so that is going to do it for my Helluva Boss Season 2, and I guess 1, for example, tier list. What did you think? Was I right on the money, or did I fumble it hard? I would honestly love to know, because I feel like my takes are kind of weird and kind of dumb, but I would love to know what other people think. So for the meantime, I'm ending it off right there. So if you enjoyed this kind of content, then the buttons are down there. You know what to do, and have a good one. So goodbye. See ya.